Are you drowning in scraps? Can't bear to throw things away? Well, in this series I'm sharing ideas to help you use your stash to create journals, ephemera, cards and more. Hey everybody, welcome back to another scrap busting Sunday. Now if you watched last week, I was using up gel prints to make some Christmas cards, and I said to you at the time that we could use that same technique to make some other cards. So before I show you what I'm going to do today, I wanted to quickly flick through these for you and just show you some of the non-Christmassy cards that you could do with gel prints. I think I made that one on camera last week, and those two as well. All right, so just to show you, you're not limited to Christmas. Now the other quick thing I wanted to show you, last week I'd cut some poinsettias out from gel prints and used them on these little gift tags, and I just wanted to very quickly show you the other thing I have done this week is to use some of those gel print scraps, and I've cut butterflies. And at the time when I videoed last week, I was saying, you know, you could use this with any die cut. And I just wanted to show you these butterflies just to illustrate my point. Now these are, the butterfly shape is a die cut, and then I have some little embossing folders that they go through. And I don't know whether you can see that, but you get different embossed patterns on them. All right, so if you want to see how I've used those, check out my video that came out on Friday, which was a full deck challenge video, because I used one of those on my card. All right, so we're going to be continuing this week with using up some gel prints, because let's face it, I've got rather a lot of them, and I've made a promise to myself that I'm going to use up at least 50% of my stash. Just put those down there. I'm going to use at least 50% of my stash before I do any more gel printing. Now, that's a bit of a challenge. But anyway, what I'm going to be doing today, I've sort of combined a couple of things that I've seen other people do. And I'm going to be using a child's board book. And you can pick these up really cheaply in op shops, charity shops, thrift stores, whatever you call them where you are. And often they're not in great condition. Now that doesn't matter for our purpose. This one isn't too bad. I think I paid $1 for it. I'm going to be using this. Now I've seen people turn these into art journals. And the other thing I've seen by Froyle Davis, she's an amazing New Zealand gel print artist, or a gel print artist living here in New Zealand. She made this fabulous art book with her gel prints, and she used one of these, which is a bought blank, so it's an accordion book. So she used gel prints to turn one of these into an art journal. And I have seen people using board books to turn into an art journal. And I thought to myself, okay, what happens if we combine those two things? So I'm going to be using this board book and turning it into a gel print art journal, or an art journal using up all my bits and pieces of gel prints. Now, just to save time, what I have already done, what you will notice is if you have a look at any of these children's board books, you'll find that they quite often have a shiny surface, and I guess that's to protect them from small children, really, which is what they're designed for. But that's not so great when you're wanting to use them as art journals. So what I have done, I took a piece of sandpaper and I just very lightly sanded these pages, and then I have gessoed them all. And a little tip if you're gessoing, if you don't want to wait for each one to dry, if you're careful, you can stand them up like this and it will dry. All right. Now, what I didn't notice until I was gessoing in this one was that actually there's some little flap down pages in them. Some of them have fortunately stuck, some of them haven't, but I may utilize some of those and do something with them. Others I will cover up. All right, so I have done one page this morning just to make sure that what I had in my mind I could translate onto the paper. And here is the page. Now, unfortunately, I closed it before it was quite dry. But look at this. This is just with offcuts and tiny little pieces of gel prints. And so this is what I'm hoping to achieve right through the book. And each book will probably be a different colour. It will be a different layout. But I'm going to be doing this right the way through the book. Now, just to give you an idea, this is only a small book. It is approximately 4 inches by 4 inches, which is roughly 10 by 10 centimetres. But one of the things that attracted me to it has got this lovely scalloped edge, which I thought would really add to an art journal. So that was sort of a test page that I did. What I'm going to do today is I'm actually going to show you a tip that I've picked up from other people's videos. And I'm not going to cite any one video today because I have watched a number using board books. And I haven't, in all honesty, I haven't kept track of them. But you can Google if you search YouTube if you want to see some more, and you will find out. But what I'm going to do today is to show you what to do with the spine before you do the cover, and I will show you how I do a couple of pages, and then I'm hoping to have time for them to dry properly and come back to one of them, because what you can do is once you've got them to this stage, you can come back in with your gel pens, with your stamps. You can continue to add on as you would any kind of mixed media project. I mean, I really quite like this one as it is. But you know, that's personal preference, and we'll be looking at some different ideas. All right, so that's where we're going to go today. Now, you will notice already that just with one page of gel prints and the rest gessoed, this book is not really closing very well. And so the trick is to have a look at the spine, and you can see that there's a gap in here. Okay, and most board books appear to be like this. So what I'm going to do very carefully is I'm going to use my craft knife and I'm going to slit down here. I'm going to do it standing up this way, which maybe not. Let's just go down there like this. And what I'm aiming to do is just to release that spine. Just move my hand out of the way so that I don't end up with the craft knife in my hand. There we are. Now already you can see there's much less tension on those pages, and they're going to close much easier. Now I'm actually going to take this spine right off, and I think that I'm going to do that because I think that it lays a lot flatter and better when you do that. Okay, so I've taken the spine off. Excuse me. Now, what I'm going to do is to use a strip of, this is just some old sheeting actually. You can see it's got a bit of a funny mark on there, and I'm going to create a new spine well, not really a spine, but I'm going to create a new piece with this. Now, some people choose not to do this until right at the end when they see how big a spine they're going to need, but I think I'm going to do it now, and I'm going to leave a bit of room and hope for the best. That runs from top to bottom and has plenty of room to wrap around onto both the front and the back cover. Now, oh goodness me, I'm just using matte gel medium here. I think that it will hold. If it doesn't, I will find something stronger. Now, because I haven't filled all my pages yet, I'm not going to pull this too tight. I'm going to leave just a little bit of wiggle room there. You might think, well, yeah, why aren't you leaving it to the end, Jem? But I actually want to just give my book a little bit of stability whilst being able to open it flat. All right, so as you can see there, I have left a little bit of room in my spine there. All right, and that's just going to be enough to give me a little bit of wiggle room for when my book expands more. Now, this fabric will be covered when I do the cover, and I'm not going to do the cover until the end, but because if I wrap paper around this now, I'm going to lose that flexibility that I have. But I wanted to show you that that's what you need to do with the spine of your book. All right, okay, so there's my first page, and as I said, this one, it does need a little bit of repair there. I closed it up. I was rushing, and I closed it before it was completely dry. All right, I showed you last week, I have my small scraps of gel prints. I have my bigger pile up here, which I was using for cards last week. The other thing I have is gel prints on tissue paper, and these are often ones where I've been using a stencil, and I've done that first pull onto some thin tissue paper, because those are great as well for art books. And you can see this is the one I've used, a bit of this one in here, and you get that lovely sort of transparent effect with them. Okay, so let's get on to creating a page. Now, the first thing that I do is to sort out a colour. What's my colour scheme going to be? And I'll pull together all my bits and pieces in that colour scheme, and then I do a little bit of a layout. But I'm trying, with this process, I'm trying not to get too hung up on things. I'm trying to really be a little bit more kind of get it out, put it down, glue it down, and see what happens. Because if you don't like it, you can always add to it. You can build up layers. So I'm trying not to be I'm trying not to overthink these pages, is what I'm trying to say. So let's have a bit of a look through, and I will find some colours and some bits and pieces that I'm going to use for this next page. Okay, so those pages are just about dry. They are still just, yeah, they'll be dry enough. So what I'm going to do now is to flip over, because I've got this, still glue there, because I've got this scalloped edge, I'm actually just going to go round the edge like this with my craft knife. Actually, you know, that mat it's textured and it's really weird for cutting on. So I'm going to go round the edge with my craft knife all the way round so that I can see that lovely scalloped edge. Now, one of the things about doing this is it really is better. It works better if your page is absolutely and completely dry. And this one is more or less dry, so I am struggling a little bit here. But I'm going to continue, and I'm going to go all the way around the edge with my craft knife, and you will see that it cuts off and gives that lovely shape. All right, now look, patience is not my middle name by any stretch of the imagination. Let me just show you something. If you don't wait until it's dried properly and try to cut around the edges, you'll get tears like this. All right, so it is best to have a little bit of patience and wait until it's dry. If you've got a square board book, obviously this is going to be so much easier. Now what I did with my previous page, I've just glued that tear down, is just to go around at this stage and check. And you will see that I put a layer of matte gel medium over the top of my pieces to sort of seal them all in. But I do find that it's good to check all around the edges and the little corners and things at this stage, just to make sure that they're all glued down. This is similar to art glitter glue. In strength, it's called Tiger Glue. And it's really good just for tucking those little bits down. Now, this is sandpaper. I don't know where I got this little thing. I think it came in with a set of pencils. I'm not really sure. But that's sort of a fine grade sandpaper. And when you have gone around the edge, it's really helpful just to do this with a little bit of sandpaper, and it just takes off any more, you know, any of the last edges that you might have missed, and helps to just give it that finished look, particularly if you do have a book like this with the scalloped edges. It just seems to tidy them up. Okay, so you can see two really quite different pages there.
Where to go from here. So let's choose a different colour. You know, these oranges are really kind of calling out to me today, which is interesting because I very rarely work in orange. It's not a colour I use very much, but this one I was trying for a tropical sort of feel, and as you can see my print tore a little bit there, but I thought some of this might be nice. So I've got those. I might take some inspiration from this one and go for a bit of a tropical theme on this page. So let's see what else I can find. Okay, so using that middle piece of that tropical print, I'm taking that as my inspiration. So I've pulled a few green pieces. I didn't have a lot of green, and also some more orange and yellow. So let's see how we get on. Okay guys, learning my lessons from last time, from the last page. This is pretty much dry, but I am going to leave it before I cut around the edges. And I want to just do one more page on camera. So what I'm going to do, this is a piece of baking paper. I think some people call it parchment paper or freezer paper. I'm just going to put that in there just to prevent any last little bits sticking. And this one, I will do this one and then I will dry them both really, really well, or I'll leave them to dry really well, and then I'll come back and cut round the edges. So I'll do one more on camera and then talk about some next steps. I think I said that just now, but never mind. Do you know what? This is a really, and this is just this, I've sort of found this as I've been doing this. This is a really sort of meditative process, and I'm really enjoying it. If you try to just chill out and not think too much about what you're doing and allow yourself to just place things down as they come, allow yourself to work in that intuitive fashion, it really is, it's a wonderful meditative thing. And I keep sort of other ideas keep popping into my head to add in. So, you know, it might be that you could add in some little quotes or some music paper or some printed book page, whatever you have that takes your fancy. And although I'm focusing on using up these gel prints today, you know, don't feel restricted to just those. All right, one more page and then I will show you what I'm going to do next. Okay everyone, so as you can see that those 2 pages are dry, and I've done exactly the same. I've gone around the edges with the craft knife and then with a little bit of sandpaper just to finish them off. Just noticed a little bit more there that I've missed, so I'll go back and do that. So let's have a look at what we've done today. This one for me has got a bit of a beachy theme, I think, with the blues and the sand yellow. And then we've got a lovely bright tropical page there, a bit darker with some of the purples, and then my original page, which is a real sort of mixture of those pinks and turquoise and with a little splash of yellow. So because of the time it's taking those pages to dry properly, what I've decided to do is that this week I will work on finishing the rest of these pages, collage them with the gel print scraps, and then in my scrap busting video next Sunday I'll come back and show you what else we can do to finish this journal off. So we're going to split into 2 parts because otherwise I'm going to be rushing these pages and they're all going to stick, and that's not going to work. So I hope that's given you some ideas to start off and start your own little board book journal with some gel print scraps. And as I say, tune in again next week on Scrap Busting Sunday and I'll show you some ideas for enhancing and finishing off these pages. So thank you very much for watching, folks, but for now, ka kite anō.